Hey Springfield, my name is Aaron Clark, and what you're about to watch are stories designed to create compassion, care, and love for one another in our community. We all have a story, we all have history, we all have an authentic story, and with that comes good, bad, and the ugly. But when we know each other's stories, when we hear each other's stories, it gives us the capacity to show more compassion and love for one another. So let's check out a video of an authentic story from one of your neighbors. Tell us your name.
My name is Stephen Rolls, but as I'm known now, it's Mr. 937. I gave myself that name actually.
Mr. 937.
Mr. 937. It's my stage name.
Stage name. Born and raised here in Springfield?
Born and raised. Yes.
What do you do now? What's your
Well, I do a number of things now. I'm so involved. I try to be as involved as I can between coaching. I do stand-up comedy. I act. Me and DJ Swig, we started 89 Radio as a way to kind of facilitate our voice more in the community, to give a voice to people who don't have one. But it's easy. It's a little easier for us to do that, being that like people like me who come from a world where talking is not allowed. It's really more, this is back in our day where it's more of be seen, not heard. So now it seems like the day that flipped, where it's more about now being heard than being seen. And, I live good now, but it hasn't always been like this.
Yeah. What's your journey, man? What was born and raised in Springfield? What's your childhood like and your family dynamic?
Springfield was good to me, but, I wasn't the best to Springfield early. It was kind of one of those, I had one of the worst, greatest childhoods you could have. Because so many people around me seen something in me that was like, that boy is great. But I was like, I don't want to be great. I want to be like my friends. And my friends at the time, wasn't nowhere near it. I wanted to be, my mom had me out here with a job. She wanted to put structure in me and my brother as early as she could. So me and my brothers were throwing papers. From the time I was 7 all the way to the time I was 18, I had a paper out. Throwing papers. In the neighborhood, just throwing papers. And I learned quickly, like at 8 or 9 years old, that my love for money was greater than anything that I've ever experienced. I think there was even time where I think I loved money more than I loved my parents, because I knew the power of it early. I knew money buys everything. I knew it. I mean, everything that I wanted as a kid, money brought it. Between, I thought shoes and clothes, popularity at the school, snacks and these kind of things, that's what I wanted. That's what I thrived for as a kid. And I was willing to do anything to get it, anything. And that means either, getting caught by the law, going to jail. I mean, I developed a juvenile record at 8.
Wow.
And between the time I was 8 all the way to the time I was 14, when my life changed, I probably had been locked up probably 20 times.
Wow. Between 8 and 14?
Between 8 and 14. Just for petty stuff like getting caught stealing at the store, or joyriding in somebody's car, or being caught at somebody's house, that kind of stuff, And it trips people out because I was raised in the church. Sang in the choir, me and my brothers, we was raised in the church, God-fearing man. But it's weird when you see somebody pray, then they go break the law. You pray for forgiveness right before you about to break the law. That was my childhood coming up. God watch over me as I'm about to go jack this radio. And that was my mindset coming up. As long as I have constant forgiveness, and if I had to take a whooping, take a beating every once in a while, I took it. I didn't care, because my mindset was, I'm going to get this money. I'm going to get this money. Plus, I was bullied coming up. So it was like an outlet for me to really, I had that mindset. Money brought everything. Maybe he won't bully me if I dress better, if I look better, if my clothes are a little more designer, if I'm starting to look like these kids in the school. And as I found out as I got older, bullies don't care what you got on. They are going to bully you. And even in that process of doing that, that takes a mental state on you. Now, granted, I think we come out of a tougher age where the thought of suicide wasn't really an option. Because, we had parents that took us over there, like, you're going to fight him. I can't think how many times my mom took me to somebody's house and we fought him.
Wow.
Straight up. Like, my mom's like,
drove you to the house.
yeah, because we're not going to be scared of none of this. So we're going to fight them. Because you know that saying is you if you face it, you're not scared of it no more. So I had a lot of those moments where I would just be facing my fears left and right. But it really didn't do much for me as far as not being scared or nothing. I just knew that if it involved money, I was about it. And it made childhood hard because I really could have been on the path to something great, like early great. But because I wanted to be a knucklehead, it took a little longer. It took longer than it should, I think.
What was the relationship like between your siblings and your mom, and just like in the
Right.
house, that relationship?
You know what? In most houses, the kids all get the same thing. One kid wouldn't get a new pair of shoes without the others getting a new pair of shoes. One kid wouldn't get a new outfit without the others getting a new outfit. But it was different in my house because me and my older brother have the same dad. My little brother has a different dad. And so the family now starts to help kick in to help support a single mom. So me and my brother's side of the family, my older brother, they helped as much as they could, but they didn't have that mindset of you need Jordans and Nikes and this kind of stuff. They just figured shoes on your feet is good enough. So when we would get new shoes, me and my older brother, it'd be like the Payless stuff. My little brother, on the other hand, he came from a side of the family where his family wanted the best. So when everybody sees us walking down the street and one of us got on Jordans and Pippins and Charles Barkley's and good clothes, and then all the other two got on holy clothes and dirty clothes, it caused the friction in our house early. Because, of course, your neighborhood notices it, your friends notice it, and it now becomes a thing. Why does this child look better than these two children? So even though it's not my mom's fault, my mom did the best she could, in her mind, hey, they got clothes on as far as I see. But it started to reflect on her like, man, am I looking like a bad parent because this child has $100 in clothes on and these child have on Goodwill stuff, which we did. We wore Goodwill stuff with the best of them. But our relationship wasn't bad, but it was undercover strain because after a while you get sick of hearing that. And, you know, kids are ruthless, man. The kids let it be known, like, you know, y'all looking like two scrubs over here, and then your brother over here looking GP, like, what's up? And, you know, as kids, we can't explain that. They're like, hey, you know, they all look new to me, you know, but kids around you, your community around you have the way of letting you know that something's off. Something is very, very much off. And it even caused a strain with my parents because on one hand, you got our dad doing the best that he could. He working 2 jobs. One job trying to maintain his household, another job just to stay out of jail because he's so behind in child support. And then you got another father who's incarcerated. My little brother's dad, he's incarcerated. He was incarcerated at this time most of his childhood. So his side of the family thought to take his mind off of his dad not being here, we'll keep him glamored up and jewels and clothes and drawers and stuff, and it kind of makes him forget about it. And my dad, shockingly enough, lived 4 houses down. So you got one dad that's 4 houses down and he can't be involved. And you got another dad that's 3 cities over in jail who wants to be involved, but he's far away. And he still raised us from jail. Still did a very good job of raising us from jail. Was a minister, put values in us, raised us 7-day Adventists. But you know, it's one of them things where you wake up every morning, you're throwing papers, you're making money, but you're still looking like you probably living outside. Wow. And after a while, for me, speaking for myself, you develop anger. You develop a regret for certain things where you say, you know what, I'm breaking all the rules now. I'm going to make my own, and wherever it is takes me, this is where it's going to take me. And that's what I started to develop early.
And so where did that mindset take you? You know what I'm saying? Like where was, as you said, from 8 to 14, you were now the juvenile. You had developed this love for money.
Yep.
At an early age. So where did that path take you from?
Well,
prior to Mr. 937 now.
You know, when you're a thief and you're a bad kid, everybody in the community knows it. And that's the good thing about where these days used to be. The community was so close-knit. Everybody knew that something was wrong with you. You, man, don't take your eyes off that kid. So no matter whose house I went to, all eyes was on me because that boy would steal your stuff. Even when I went to church, as much as I'm up there singing in the choir and praising God, They knew. Don't you let that boy out your sight. He will steal this collection plate ASAP. And one day, I went to I went to Seventh-day Adventist over here, and my mentor at the time at that church was Robert C. Henry. And this was early. He picks me up one day because we rode the van, and he picks me up one day, and I get in the van, and nobody's in the van. Normally, people are in the van ready to go to church, but one day nobody's there. It's just me. And I'm like, man, where we going? He's like, I want to show you something. Because he's like, you talented. I want to spark something in you. Takes me over there to the funeral home where he works at, and he walks me into the basement, and he just pulls this sheet back, and it's a whole body laying right there. And there's only one gunshot wound in the body. But it was that one gunshot wound that killed this person. And I didn't know who this person was, but he made me sit there and watch this process of what he has to do when somebody comes in here and he now has to prep them for the family. But what made this one so interesting was he knew this kid since he was born. So this person, it touched him different because it was almost like changing a diaper on a baby all over again. I mean, and he was so tedious in the work, from cleaning the dirt from the fingernails to making the gunshot wound look like it was never even there, to clipping the toenails. I mean, all these things that they do at these funeral homes to make the body look presentable for the families who are grieving for the loss. And I'm watching him do this, and I'm thinking to myself, I can't even be close to this body, let alone, I mean, he's showering the body, spraying the body down, getting the body dressed. And after he does all this, he looks at me and he goes like, this gonna be you if you keep playing. He's like, I will be doing this to you. And a lot of times, something like that would make a person snap right out of it. But unfortunately, it didn't. It actually made me, shockingly enough, it made me want more destruction a little bit. Wow. Because I'm thinking to myself, what was gonna, his way of teaching me was he went down the wrong path and this could be you. My mindset was, what kind of crazy life was this person living to get here? I got to find out. And that's what I then started to go to. I'm running from the cops all the time. I'm doing these things, and I just became this menace. And then finally, the changing point in my life, I think, really was, a person who doesn't have anything to do, he's not involved in nothing, tends to get in trouble. Once you find something, my mom used to say all the time, that boy is not a bad person. You got to just find what he likes. Find out what he likes. And when we found out that it was music changed everything for me after that.
Wow. So what was your... I think that's interesting, though, man, for that mindset.
Yeah.
That perspective, like, because I've heard most mentors try that route of, this could be you.
Yep.
But I wonder how many other youth have that mentality you have, like, well, I want to find out what he did.
What he did, because he must have lived a fun life.
And to live that fun life. Because
it was like live hard, die young, back then, It's taught more now, like YOLO, like, live your life. But back then it was really more like, the good die young. Yeah. It was like, man, live your life while you can and take whatever comes with it.
Wow. So you said music. You found music.
I found music in a weird spot, actually, because even though I sang in the choir and things like that in school, in church, it didn't touch me because it wasn't none of my music or anything. It was just, and I wasn't like a standout singer or anything like that. I was always your backup singers and things like that. Local talent shows and things like that. I did all this stuff, dancing and stuff like that. But it never really translated into money or some type of popularity that stopped me from getting, my butt kicked at school. So it was kind of like, off that. Well, then I joined the drum line at the school. And I got so wrapped up into wanting to learn this thing. It was just like, what is this? And I'll never forget, my friend Mike Avery was like, hey, we got a drum line over there at the KP. You should come, man. You getting a little better. You should come with us. I was like, all right. So I go over there, and by this point, I think I know how to play the one drum. But I didn't care. It's just the fact that somebody wanted me around to learn something other than stealing, making money. I was like, oh man, this is dope. And I just kept learning. And finally, it got to a point to where watching somebody else want better makes you want better. Finally, they said, I don't even want to play over here no more. We want to go down the street. And we ended up going down the street. So when I met you, we came to Bomb Squad. And I don't even think it was the shock of seeing this many people in the same room doing the same thing. I think it was more of the comfort of seeing 27 young black men in the same room doing the same thing, and it's all people who are not in the streets, not chasing girls, chasing money, out here cussing out. It's a different feeling, and you know how it was. We had each other's back. It was like one of them things, like you fight, we all fighting. And that really changed my life differently because now I'm around, for the first time in my life, I'm around black men who are like, I will not let you do no BS. Which for when I was a kid, there was no black men around to really say, hey, don't do that. There was some who tried to persuade me, but for the most part, it's women saying, I see good in that baby. Just let him grow up. And if you let me grow up, in my mind, I'm going to keep going down this path. And that's the good thing about being black men. They said, I demand great. I'm not going to let you do anything less than that. So that's what really changed for me.
Wow. How did you get out of stealing?
Do
we need to watch our wallets?
No. Stealing is like anything else in life. It's a habit. When you start doing it, something makes you start doing it. Whether you hang out with somebody or you see somebody doing it, it looks cool. Like cigarettes. At one point in time when people start smoking cigarettes, it's just something cool to do because you see so many people do it. Until one day you look up, it's a habit. That's how it was when I first started smoking. It was, I looked up one day and I'm thinking I'm doing something that's cool. The next day it's a habit. And that's how it happened. At first I'm doing it just to impress my friends. After a while, it became a rush to me. Like, I'm running, you're not gonna catch me. It became such a rush. I remember one time I got caught stealing the Snicker bar and I was allergic to peanuts. I did these kind of things when I was a kid, like just for the rush of, hey, I'm taking this and you can't do nothing about it. That was the rush for me. How I got out of it was because music, girls, I'm not being bullied no more now because I'm now around men who are like, hey, this is my guy, you're not bullying him. Things started to change to the point where one day I look up and I'm just not doing it no more. A lot of people think that when somebody does something wrong, I used to hear this all the time, that boy's lashing out. That boy is lashing out. They had me in counseling and therapy and all that. Like, why do you steal? Like, it was something in my brain that, no, it was just the thing to do at the time. That's the people who I hung out with did that.
It was just recreation.
It was recreation at this point. Limestone, this is when Limestone was there for the picking. People forget. You look at Limestone now and you say, man, this city is, but I'm talking about, I was raised 1505 South Limestone. So you're talking about Domino's, Kroger's, Super Duper, Rite Aid, Walgreens, CVS, Foamers, McDonald's. I mean, Limestone was it was there for the taking. It was 4 grocery stores, like 3 banks. For me, it was like my eyes were lit up, like, where do I want to go today? Like, that's how it was for me living on Limestone. Like, I'm 2 blocks away from the money. I just got to go get it. I'm 2 blocks away from the candy. And I used to run this business where I would go to the store, steal candy, and then go to the school and sell it because I knew it was all profit. I figured it out early. It was all profit. I was doing this all the way up until, like, my 7th grade year. My 7th grade year was a change for me because now, like I said, I was getting more involved in some of the things that I'm doing, but more importantly, people start tapping into me different. Y'all got to stop whooping this kid because whoopings ain't working. Because they wasn't. If I knew I can get a whooping and still go play, I didn't care. I'd take the whooping and then let's go. We got to figure out what is really driving him. And they knew once they separated me from certain people, the game changed after that.
Wow.
Really big.
So now you're adult life, man.
Yeah.
You're a child. You found music. Now you're an adult.
Yeah.
What was? Now you're to actual manhood, man.
You're
right out on your own, and
yeah.
you're out of mom's house, man. That brings a whole new set
right
of challenges, man. So
and I still stumbled there because I took, life just had the way of just showing you things that you did not see coming. You know, as a kid coming up, you think anybody older than you is a grown old person. Like, you too old for that, especially your mom and dad. So me and my mom, we were very close. Like, we were so close, it almost didn't feel like we were mother and son. It almost felt like that was my homie, like that was the friend. So as I'm 18, you know, I'm graduating high school, prepping to go to college, and I look up one day, and my mom, she's roughly 30, 31 years old. She goes for a regular routine doctor's checkup. You know, I go with her, nothing new. And we found out that she had breast cancer. So, you know, once again, I'm still a very much of a God-fearing person. I've always believed that if you pray for things, things will happen. So I'm now in the transition of doing that. Like, you know, we're going to pray this thing away. And it actually kind of worked because she, with surgery and chemo, she actually got rid of it. But the problem is that it took a toll on her mental to the point to where, you know, as a child, I'm thinking this old woman, but I'm in my 30s now, I'm seeing it. She still very much had life in her because she was only like 30, 31. So to lose half of your body to cancer at such a young age really does an effect on the mind. And the effect on the mind is so great, it changes the minds around you, the minds around whoever is going to be affected by it. So in a way, even though I never had cancer, the cancer affected me because when she lost it, I lost it. And when she started to decline because of it, you know, I didn't resort back to my old ways as far as stealing and things like that, but I resorted back to ways where I shouldn't have been because she did that. She had started taking drugs to kind of deal with certain things, letting men come around because of certain things. You know, in fact, you know, one of the blessings that happened to me at the time, which I did not know, was my mom ended up getting pregnant again, like at 30, 31, and she had my sister. But at the time, I'm so wrapped up into wanting cancer to just kind of just leave us alone that, you know, we couldn't even be happy about it because it's cancer is one of them things where you can't go out here and try to fight cancer, you know. And it got to a point to where she became so just not caring about cancer no more. She just started to do things, and it wore off on me because I just didn't want to pay attention to the signs. I guess, you know, I mean, in my mind, that's like Superman. You know, ain't Superman's good. That's not gonna happen. And then one day I look up, I come home from work, and she's just not getting out the bed. She's not her same. And I remember we ended up taking her to the hospital that same day because we was like, you know, something's going on. She got a cold. She's sick. What's going on? And that's the day we found out she only had 60 days left to live. Wow. And it goes back to that old question, you know, would you rather know when you're going to die or would you rather be surprised by it? And I still to this day can't answer that question because it was like that scene in Straight Outta Compton when he finds out he's got AIDS. We was just like, what? You know, we were all so shocked by what we just heard. We were looking like, man, this doctor he is not no doctor. He don't know nothing. We was in that mindset, you know, and, you know, I still didn't lose it because my brain was still thinking, man, we're going to pray on this and this going to be all done and over with. And like I said, you know, I was the roughest coming up. You know, I was the one out here in and out of jail, in and out of the, juvenile system, almost on the verge of being taken out of the home. People watching me left and right. My mom was like, I need you to take care of the family. And I'm like, why me? Why are you asking me? Antoine, he's the oldest. Jeffrey, he's the youngest. He's the one glitz and glamour, you know. Why are you asking me for? My mom was like, because I know you. You just like me. Me and you see it. You just don't see it now. Because my mom used to always have this saying every time I got in trouble, like, this boy's going to be great. Just not today. She said it to me all the time, like, this boy's going to be great, but just not today. And I think that was her way of just not being as mad as she was. But I knew it in her face when she told me that. She said, it's over. And we all knew it. It was, at 19 years old, it is such a trying thing. And then this is going into Christmas. So the doctors did what they said they was going to do. You know, they made her comfortable for 60 days. And I never forget, it wasn't even 60 days. I was at work. Because I was out there every day talking to her. Because when you hear these kind of things, now your mind resorts to, we need to spend as much time together as we can because we know it's coming. And then I never forget, I'm at work. I'm working third shift. And as I'm working, I feel it. Didn't know what it was, but I felt it. I was like, something just left my whole body. I knew it. I knew it from the time it was. I've never felt nothing like this before in my life. Like, and I'm tapping my body like, everybody looking at me like, you good? I'm like, yeah, man. I just feel like something was gone. And I knew it. I went on break. They called me like, she's gone. They were like, she is gone. I was like, oh, man. And then everything starts rushing to your head, and then you think to yourself, like, and a lot of times you're so sad, people say, don't worry about it. Because, people say it all the time, like, sorry for your loss. But for me, the anger that I developed was so great. Like, because once again, you got to find something to be mad at. My mindset was, I'm talking to God now. Why would you do this to me? I wasn't ready. He said, God knows all. I was like, why would you do this to me? I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Because, my mom's last days of me was doing some bullshit, not doing I was not living my good life at all. So I'm thinking, like, my mom's about to die, and I'm fighting a case. I'm working in this factory. I'm not living my good life at all, And it just, I knew it. Luckily I haven't felt nothing like that, but I mean, the anger that I had at that time was so great that's where that's where my mindset was like, I don't care about life no more. And we went, of course the funeral and everything happens after that, but then that's where the blow up happens. And I took my Bibles and my pictures of Jesus. I took everything that I had in the house. I took it outside and I buried it in the backyard. I made a vow that I will never believe in any higher power ever again in my life. Because I felt like but it turned its back on me. Like, I've prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and this is what it does to me. And then I started to think, well, maybe this is karma for everything that I've done. Because I've done a lot in my life, and I've hurt people, women, things like that. I started to think to myself, like, maybe this is just a way of saying, hey, reap what you sow, But I later found out in life that God has this way of putting his greatest works on people just to see if you can even, I can't figure out if I want to put this on you until I know if you can make it through this. And, even still to this day, I still struggle with trying to find a higher power, but it's so different now because I really do think that something is there. I just don't know what. But when you go from a part like, okay, mommy's here, and the next day she ain't here. Well, then you find out, even at 19 years old, man, you are a kid. You don't know nothing about no bills. You don't know about no rent. You don't know who put the food on the table. You just used to mom doing it. So as a 19-year-old, I struggled to the point where I was homeless after 4 months, sleeping in my trunk. I was sleeping in my truck at the time. And it was to the point, my girlfriend had broke up with me. It was to the point to where I literally said to myself, you know what? I don't even want life no more. Who gonna miss me anyway? That was my mindset at 19 going into 20. I was like, I don't even want to live no more. So I was sitting up there in the parking lot of Kroger's on South Limestone, and I started doing drugs because I said, this will make it easier. This will make it 10 times easier because then I'll be whacked out of my mind. I won't even see it coming. So I had a gun in my hand, and I'm shaking. I'm putting the gun in my head because I know in my brain, like, I want to do this. But I'm not doing it as much as I think I should. And finally, I just said, I'm going to do it quick and easy. But I'm still shaking. And when I pulled the trigger, the recoil pulled the gun away from my head and shot a hole into the roof of my car. And I started thinking to myself, well, dang, life can't even get this bad. I can't even commit suicide right. 2 days later, it starts raining, and it starts leaking water through my car as I'm sitting there in the rain homeless. So I'm thinking to myself, boy, life cannot get no worse than this. But as the days start to go on, and I tell people all the time, even through all that, I still work 2 jobs. I still paying bills. I'm still going to work around people, like, as nothing is wrong with me. But on the inside, I am just like, I'm tired. I'm beat up to just another level because I'm still angry. Because I noticed that with people who have a full understanding of Jesus or higher power, he speaks to them. My grandma says that to me all the time. She's like, he speaks to me. And that's how he gets through to you, because he speaks to me and I speak to you. And it's almost like when you're in the car listening to a radio station. When you get out of a service area, the radio station gets foggy, and ultimately it cuts out. And that's what happened between me and Christ. It got to a point where we got so distant, I no longer hear him. I no longer hear any of that. But that's how you know when life start going good again, because it starts coming back to you. It starts making its way back to you. And I never forget, the thing that changed my life after I start moving on, because, I'm just going through the days now. I met a woman, of course, and me and her ended up having my son. And that really shot me to the top as far as where I wanted to go, because children do that. Children make you want to live even when they're not doing right. Kids really make you want better. You want greatness. Even if you just like, I want to get you McDonald's. You're like, I don't even want to get you McDonald's because I know a way better burger than this. Like, as a parent, you strive for that. And now I have 5 god kids. My sister, she's in college. She was 4 years old when her mom passed away. She's in college now, straight A's, graduated. I used to tell my sister all the time, like, you don't have your parents, but you have discipline. My son, he does things now. I'm like, boy, you can't try it on me. I've seen it from both sides. The good and the bad. You cannot try it on me. And I'm like everybody else. I still have my days where I look back and I say, man, what if? What if the bullet didn't miss? What if the drugs would have got me sooner? What if the way I was being a knucklehead, what if I would have ended up on that table? And I think that's the reason why today, now, every day after that is so beautiful for me. I don't even really get mad at stuff like I used to, because I feel like every day after that is so, I'm just glad to be here. Yeah, man. I don't stay mad as long as I used to. I'm happy way more now. Even when I can be in a room, I can go tell jokes in a funeral now, because I'm so happy about how life is going for me. But I don't think I would be this happy if I was never at the rock bottom. To the point to where, because you have to see somewhat of the bottom to know what the top even remotely looks like. And that's the good part for me, because not only do I feel like I'm working my way up to the top, I can see it clearly. I have something to live for. And Springfield helped me out so much with that, because so many people in my community were like, I'm not going to let you keep doing this. I see so many people were like, I see better in you, man. Why you don't see it, I don't know. And I mean, probation officers, funeral directors, drumline advisors, just random people on my paper route were just like, you are going to do something great. I don't know what it is, but you going to do something. And now it seems like I'm paying you guys back by doing it. Money, and that's the good thing. Money don't buy everything, and I'm seeing that now. Because if it could, I'd have brought my mom back. I would have brought some people back that I could bring back, but their death has to teach you something. You have to grow from something. And now I look up, and we sit in 2021, and I just sit back and I laugh, because I remember the day I walked into the drumline room, when it was me, you, Swig, Torrance, Aaron, not Aaron, but, Sam Whitaker, James, Brandon, Greg, David, Jermaine, all these people in this room, and to look up now, here we are, Sid 21, everybody is doing something successful in their life. Everybody is raising kids and doing something successful in their life. Everybody in that room that was in that room is living their life now to the fullest, doing what they want to do. It lets me know that we as black men, we can really do whatever we want. That stigma that, people are always trying to hold you back, or there's a stigma that, racism still exists, which I think it does do, but I think your will to live is always greater than that. Your will to want to do what you want to do is going to be greater than that. When I wanted to steal, all I thought about was stealing, and I did it. Now that I don't want to do that, now all I want to do is live. And I do it. I do it, and my son helps me do it. My kids help me do it. But I look back now, life is so great now. And even though I travel around Springfield and I don't see the community looking physically the way I think it should look, because I know that there's greater here, the people are still here. And it we just seen it for the high school, the football team. The people are still here, and they want to be here. They want greatness in this city. But you have to want it like how you want to live. If you fight for your life, you have to fight for that same thing, or it won't happen. It'll kind of be like I know if you want to be a knucklehead, you're doing everything you want to do to be a knucklehead. But if you want to live, I've seen it now. I said, I'm not going to be a statistic. Another black man out here doing some knucklehead stuff who was great, right, and then he didn't make it. I said, nah, we're not going to do that. Wow. And it makes life dull for me, man. It really does, man. I even wake up different now. Even though I don't live in the community where I think I should be, and I don't drive the car the car that I actually want, it's all amazing because I know at one point in time I wouldn't have had none of this. And I worked to get it. And it's easy because I don't let people dictate how I do anything now. Like, people say, how do you say these things? And you don't care about how people look at you? I'm like, no, because people have been looking at me crazy my whole life. People used to watch me. I couldn't go to the bathroom in people's house. That boy still the soap. And now people can't keep their eyes off me because I do comedy and I act and I do on the radio. So it's been like that my whole life, so it works.
Man, it's a great story, man. As we wrap up, man, we're going to put you on the spot. Close this out.
Yeah.
As a comedian.
Yes, sir.
With one joke.
One joke?
One joke.
It would probably have to be one of the best jokes I've ever heard one of my favorite comedians say.
Okay.
Dave Chappelle said, how many white people does it take to change a light bulb? And they said, I don't know. And they said none, because they probably get a black person to do it.
Thank you, Stephen, for your time.
Yeah.